URC, folks, I think it's round 16 that we're up to. We had a bunch of games on. I've watched 3 of them and the highlights of the rest. We'll go through some stats, some key events, and you guys can let me know your thoughts as we get to the business end. The first one, the Stormers and Glasgow. The Stormers got down to business pretty quickly. No, they didn't. They were slow. Glasgow got the first points through Dempsey after they'd not opted for 3. But that was their only score of the game, man. The Stormers really took a while to get going. It was like half an hour before they got on the board. And then they did get one through ESPN said Pretorius. My notes say run now, but it's been that long since I watched this game, and I've watched tons of rugby between then and now. I can't remember. But one of the Stormers guys scored a try. I'm going to go with ESPN Pretorius on 35 to at least get them in front. And second half, they do get they do get a couple of good ones, quick fire ones. Herschel Yankees and Zas, I think Diamani and Willemse have kind of good play in the build-ups for both of those tries. A yellow card to Glasgow doesn't help their cause with 10 to go. And the bonus point try comes right at the death through Evan Rus. He's a bit of a unit if you need a man to get over the advantage line towards the end of a game. So, yeah, good on the Stormers, man. They are in second, which is top stuff. Glasgow are still in sixth. So, I can't remember how many points they've got on the log. I think they should still be safe. But they would obviously like to finish as high up as they can go. Run meters 544 to 194 to Stormers. Tells a story. Stormers more possession, 55-45, more clean breaks, 9-2. Glasgow concede 15 penalties to 9, so a hard day at the office for them, even if they did start a wee bit better. Once the Stormers got going, just too good. Willemse, 88 run meters, 2 defenders beaten a try assist. Dargen losing effort, 13 from 13 tackles. Stormers are home to Leinster, which is going to be number 2 against number 1. Could be an interesting one. And then Glasgow are away to the Bulls, which is a pretty tough place to go right now. The second game, Ulster and Munster. I didn't watch this one. I've only caught the highlights, but it's a massive win for Munster away at Ulster. Ulster were first at one point. They've been second, I think, for a wee while. They're dropping a wee bit, man. They're in fifth, so the log is getting a wee bit tight. Seemed like it was a bit tentative. But ultimately, I'm looking at the 4 penalties from Joey Carberry. I think he might have missed one. He missed a conversion. But that boot just kept the scoreboard ticking over at the right times for the Munster guys, because both guys' sides score the same amount of tries. So it is that boot that is the difference. I mean, there was a really nice try through... the first one's close range Archer, but then Chris Farrell goes through a nice gap to set up Earls for the second one. That's probably the try of the game. Herring and Reeder get one, Singer Maul into close range one for the Ulster guys, kind of diving over, I think, for Reedy's one. So, yeah, a little bit too little too late. They did make it like 21-17 with that last score from Ulster, but then another penalty gave Munster a little bit more breathing room. So, yeah, territory... And possession, Munster Ulster 55-45, but clean breaks 3-1 in favour of the Munster guys, which is often a good indication of just being that touch sharper. Both the big units in the midfield on both sides, man, McCloskey and Farrell. 69 run meters for McCloskey, 41 for Farrell. Both beat 3 defenders beaten defensively. Farrell 9 from 9 tackles, McCloskey 6 from 7. Like I mentioned, Munster are third. They're home to Cardiff next, which is a game they should be winning. So we'll see how high they can go. Ulster are away to Edinburgh, who weren't that convincing against Zebre. So might be a chance for Ulster to pick up some more points, but then Edinburgh desperately need them as well. So that one could be fascinating. Speaking of Edinburgh, I actually watched their game against Zebre. I think at the time I logged in, I could have watched Bulls Benetton or Ulster Munster, but for whatever reason I chose Edinburgh Zebre because I haven't watched Zebre in ages, not in full. They just keep losing. I was like, right, I can't be kind of a snob and just always watch Ulster and Munster or the Bulls, because the Bulls are doing really well as well. I need to watch Zebre. So I did, and I'm glad I did. They actually put in a decent shift. They could have won this game, believe it or not. I didn't think so at first because they conceded a try like the first minute. So wasn't the ideal start for the Zebre boys when Bennett went over, but they got a penalty try when their winger, I think his name is Jesse, right? He ended up scoring a try. I think it might have been his first game, first time I've seen him. He gets clocked in the head as he's trying to go over in the wing as they try to prevent a try. It was Glenn Young. So a bit of a height difference with the big lock trying to tackle a little winger, but yeah, penalty try evens up the score. Zebre actually go in front, although they couldn't score any points during the the yellow card after that penalty try. They did get one through LIOvCON though, which was a nice one, offload from the big lock. So it was looking like happy days for the Zebre boys, but every time they would get one, it was like Edinburgh would kind of bounce back. Edinburgh didn't make their job any easier when Sykes ends up getting red carded. It's for another high shot, like a clean out to the head, so not ideal. But I mean, Bennett's second try, he intercepts and he jinks and he jives. Like, Edinburgh do enough, just barely. I think it's a penalty that's the difference at the end, right, on like 76 minutes, because it was tied up after about 73. There was a weird moment as well, because CC scores on 74, pretty much right in front, to level the game if they can get the conversion. But it's a piece of cake kick right in front. But right as the kicker starts his run up, the ball falls off the tee. And you're kicking right in front, so you don't take much of a distance. So it's not long for the guys to come and charge him down. He runs, picks it up, and drop kicks it over. It was bonkers stuff. You don't see that kind of thing very often. So yeah, but as I said, Edinburgh managed to get a penalty go in front. Zebre were knocking on the door, but their maul got stopped, and then that was game over. So Zebre won't get many better chances to win an away game than that one. They played all right, and Edinburgh's red card certainly didn't help them. Edinburgh have 62% possession, 369 run meters, but Zebre, with that 38% possession, have 394 run meters. Edinburgh's tackling is at 77%, which is low, folks. They make 93 tackles. Zebre at 89% make 194. So, yeah, defensive shift. Bennett, 100 run meters and 2 clean breaks, 2 defenders beaten. LIOvCON, the fullback for Zebre, 111 run meters, 3 clean breaks, 5 defenders beaten. Not a bad shift, but still another loss. Zebre are 16th, unsurprisingly. Edinburgh's in 7th. They're home to Ulster, as I mentioned, and then Zebre are home to the Dragons, who are 15th. So Zebre's maybe best chance to get a win. We'll have to wait and see. Next one, Bulls and Benetton. I caught the highlights of this one because I was too busy watching Zebre and Edinburgh. This one, it was like, what was it, 13-point lead to Benetton early, which seems like you wouldn't kind of predict that, right? I mean, Menoncello gets one on 11. They get some penalties. They kick 5 penalties in this game. But the Bulls, I mean, they managed to come back into it. Man, Nokia just keeps finding space and getting offloads. I mean, the Bulls' forwards off and out wide are as good as the backs sometimes, man. I think it was like, it was going to be 16-5 at halftime after the first try through Brink, but then the Bulls just kept firing and managed to get one wide through Arendse. Arendse ends up getting 2 because he gets one in the start of the second half. When there's some loose ball from Benetton, you don't want that man picking it up because he's got absolute wheels. Kanone ends up getting a red card as well. They didn't show it in the highlights, but they said it was a strike to the face. That's not going to make your job any easier when you're already 10 points down. And the Bulls, they punish on the counter. Benetton did look to get a consolation try on 76, but the Bulls managed to get one through Muttonzima right at the end. So just when you thought you've had the last say, no, the Bulls managed to get another one. So yeah, man, run meters 532 to 258, pretty dominant possession, 64-36, but clean breaks 4 apiece. So maybe Benetton doing a little bit more with a little bit less sometimes, but still, Bulls clocked up 40 points, which is a pretty good shift. Arendse 158 run meters, 3 clean breaks, 2 defenders beaten. Helps the lock for Benetton, 15 from 16 tackles, not a bad shift. Benetton are in 13th away to the Lions, so that's kind of a battle of 2 teams in similar spots on the log. The Bulls are 8th, so just in the playoff spots, although I think there's a bit of a gap between them and Scarlets, who are 9th. They are home to Glasgow, so still important that the Bulls keep on their winning ways to make sure they make the playoffs. Speaking of the Scarlets, they played the Dragons. I only saw highlights of this one. In that last game, I think, didn't the Dragons beat the Scarlets in the only game that was played in the URC during the makeup week? But the Scarlets bounced back, man, 38-19. And a lot of tries. Losey's one with the one-handed put down is a bit of a thing of beauty. And then this guy O'Brien, bro, he's got wheels, eh? From turnover ball, he was just absolutely lightning. So 12-0, Scarlets get a yellow card, but they still managed to score from a maul. So it's like almost going to be 17-0 at halftime. But that being said, the Dragons did have a bit of a revival. They got one just before halftime, and then Williams kind of spun over for one as well at the start of the second half. So at least that made it kind of game on, 17-12. But then the Scarlets just go on a bit of a scoring spree. I mean, Rob Evans, one where he smashes over after a maul, was kind of epitomised the difference between the teams. I guess just that bit of extra power, eh? So, yeah, salt in the wound one right at the death. So 38-19. It's a big victory. I mean, run meters are 388 to 387, so it doesn't get much closer than that. But possession 60-40 to the Dragons, and yet clean breaks 8-2 to the Scarlets. So not sure what's going on there. Someone will have to let me know who watched the game. The Dragons fullback Jordan Williams, 85 run meters, 2 defenders beaten, and his try, not bad. O'Brien for Scarlets, man, 96 run meters, 3 clean breaks, 3 defenders beaten. Heck of a shift. But yeah, good bonus point win for the Scarlets boys. They're away to the Ospreys, so another all-Welsh affair. The Dragons are 15th. They are away to Zebre, so can they get their second win? We'll have to wait and see. Scarlets, like I mentioned, are 9th, so they can put the pressure on if they beat the Ospreys, but if the teams above them keep winning, there's nothing much they can do. The next one, Sharks and Leinster. I made sure to watch this one because the Sharks have been in good form and Leinster are first. I was a little bit disappointed that Leinster's fielding their B team. And I know Leinster, like their B team would, I don't know what position they'd be on the log, but they'd be pretty high up. Leinster's B team is still better than a lot of teams' A team. But it would have been nice to see some of the Leinster bigger guns down in Durban. But yeah, proper arm wrestle this one, eh? Sharks missed a couple of penalties early, which could have been costly, but doesn't end up being that way. And yeah, Leinster got the first try through Penny from pretty much nothing. They hadn't had that much going on, Leinster. 7-0. But then Mapimpi gets the crowd into the game with a pretty nice intercept on 20 minutes. The crowd was pretty solid. It's one of the best crowds I think we've seen in South Africa. I know they've had the restrictions, but yeah, it was really, really decent crowd, seeing as there was a bit of rain about as well. But yeah, the cross kick for O'Brien, it's Tommy O'Brien, on 36 minutes was proper thing of beauty stuff. He's another O'Brien who's got some serious wheels. So yeah, pleasing stuff if you're a Leinster fan that you guys are going down there and putting in that kind of shift. But then, I mean, Fussy is just as impressive, isn't he? On the kick return, the commentators were kind of saying you don't kick that guy the ball, but I mean, sometimes you have to kick the ball, man. And if Fussy's going to do that to you, just cut the team to ribbons, he's going to do it, eh? But he sets up a try. So, yeah, it was like, what, 20 points to, was it 17-14 at halftime? And then second half, there's some penalties exchanges. So, Leinster's lead goes out a bit more. Also, there were handbags a few times in this game, eh? They don't like each other very much. There's not really any history between these sides, but yeah, a fair bit of handbags. Mbonambi's one's a more try, and then Buthelezi's one is one where he peels off the scrum to go over. Leinster get yellow cards. The ref's not happy with the way they're defending the maul. Rhys Ruddock's trying to explain himself, but the Georgian ref is having not a bar of it. So yeah, it felt like a weird game where the Leinster guys kind of did more with less. Like it feels like the Sharks probably should have won this one by a bit more. Yeah, it's a strange one. So yeah, I mean Leinster could have won at the end because they had one of the Sharks guys in the bin. They tapped it and went and got a penalty, and tapped it and went and got a penalty, and then there was the yellow card. They tapped it and went the third time. They got held up, so couldn't quite get it done to the death. But yeah, run meters 475 to 185. That's to the Sharks. That's pretty lopsided, but I mean Leinster kicked the ball a bit more. Kerwin Bosch 144 run meters, a clean break, 5 defenders beaten. Tommy O'Brien 62 run meters. 2 clean breaks and 4 defenders beaten. Yeah, interesting, weird kind of game, eh? Didn't quite flow the way we expected, but good win for the Sharks, albeit Leinster without some of their top gun players. But yeah, we'll see how things go. Sharks are in 4th. They're home to Connacht next, and Leinster still in 1st, away to the Stormers. 2 more to go. The Lions and Connacht maybe would have been one of the better games to watch, but I didn't see this one in full. It comes down to a kick at the end for Connacht to get this one done. Good start from them. Prendergast scores early. And then there's a penalty try from a maul, which was dominant. So really good start from the Connacht boys. But what a comeback, man. Similani sets up the first try through for Makwane. So proper. Like that's the thing about the Lions. They're such a fun team to watch with all their backs. 20-8 at halftime. So Connacht still kind of in front. But then Van den Berg gets one through a quick tap 23-18. The Connacht midfield manages to head back through Daly, Aki in the build-up, so a real tit for tat. It ends to be like 30 points apiece when Odendaal gets his big break. So yeah, 30 points apiece, but then one penalty wins it. It seems like a pretty crazy game. I think the Lions might be a bit frustrated they couldn't do a bit better. Maybe frustrated with their start, but credit to Connacht. Run meters 406 to 206. That's with the Lions. Clean breaks 4-1 to the Lions, but also turnovers conceded 12-7 by the Lions. So there you go. Odendaal 44 run meters, 5 defenders beating the clean break. Prendergast along with his try, 11 from 13 tackles. So yeah, 33 points to 30. Lions are home to Benetton, and Connacht are away to the Sharks. Both these sides wrong end of the table. Lions in 12th, Connacht in 10th. The last game was Cardiff and the Ospreys. Another couple of teams down the wrong end of the log as well, to be honest. And low scoring start. I mean, Lane gets yellow carded for a deliberate knock on early, but there's only 3 points in it in that first half. Cardiff 3-0 at half time. 6-0 after the start of the second half. 6-3. Game comes alive a wee bit. The first try is a maul try through Dewey Lake, and then Webb gets an intercept, so 17-6. It's starting to look pretty solid. And then the line-out move on 65 sees Parry up against Cabango at close range. A big forward up against a little back is only going to be one result. So yeah, good win for the Ospreys away from home. Cardiff are not in the best of form, it has to be said. And Ospreys just played the territory, man. 68-32. That is lopsided. Run meters 408 to 322 to the Ospreys. Cardiff's number 8, James Ratty, though. 13 from 13 tackles and 4 defenders beaten is solid. He had 50-odd run meters too. Watkin had 11 from 11 tackles in that Ospreys midfield. Webb had a bunch of run meters, but he did get an intercept. So, yeah, the Ospreys are 11th. Cardiff are 14th. Cardiff have got Munster away. Ospreys have got the Scarlets at home. Whew. Quite the weekend of rugby in the URC, like I mentioned. There's a week gap between the Bulls and the Scarlets in 8th and 9th. But yeah, we'll see how things play out in the final few rounds. A lot of teams are already kind of done, and it's just sorting out where the places end up going. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts, especially on the games that I missed, but also the ones that I watched, because I've kind of had to breeze over them with so much on. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.